Who you gonna call? A lot of people aren't gonna call these. These are the Ghostbusters from 2016. This is the second look at the 2016 Ghostbusters, aka Paul Feig's Ghostbusters, aka Ghostbusters Answer the Call. That's another thing that it's been called before. This film stars Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, Chris Hemsworth, and various cameos from other Ghostbusters like Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver. They all kind of find their way back into this film. And Andy Garcia is in this for some reason. So, yeah, this is not my first time watching this film. I actually own this film on Blu-ray. And since I used the audio description project to see where it had audio description, I was hoping. I had my fingers crossed. I was like, I know it says DVD, but it says DVD for a lot of things. Might have it on the Blu-ray. It does not. It has director's commentary on the Blu-ray, but in some foreign languages. Sadly, it does not have English audio description on my Blu-ray. So that was disappointing. So I had to watch this without audio description. For the, I don't think I've seen this so many times. Maybe this might have been only my third time seeing it. It's a newer film, so it's not like I've immersed myself in this film. But this is a film that I enjoy and has gotten sort of an unfair amount of backlash. So if you like me defending films that get unfair backlashes, subscribe to me. Subscribe to me anyway, just because I don't know. I'm asking you to. There's no real other reason. I'm about to talk about the Ghostbusters film that no one likes in a positive light. So there you go. I think it's funny. I think the stuff they do with Chris Hemsworth is funny. We're introduced to Kristen Wiig up front, and she's trying to get her life together, and she finds out that there's this book, and so she ends up going back to Melissa McCarthy, and that's how they piece these people back together in a very different way. So it doesn't feel like it's a copycat remake 100%. It's not like they just took the Ghostbusters and made them female, which is what you would hear from a lot of people in conversation as part of some sort of weird campaign of wokeness, I think, is to that everything has to be like strong female leads. If you're going to remake something, do something with it, make it different, make it your own. Don't just remake the same thing and just, those don't usually work out well. If you don't have a new perspective, if you're just trying to, because a lot of times the original was good and it doesn't need to be remade. It's good enough that it's drawing your attention, which is why you want to remake it. So find a new reason to do the film, because just making some sort of weird different version of the film where it's like these people seem like the original people who were playing those roles, usually it doesn't work out either. There really wasn't a win-win situation for this film, because if they had picked 4 guys, people would have been like, well, they're not the originals. They're not Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson. Everybody would definitely be upset that they weren't Ernie Hudson. So, yeah, and of course Harold Ramis, but for some reason they couldn't win here, and I think people were offended because the guy is dumb, because Chris Hemsworth is I don't know, hilarious in this. He's really funny in this, and his performance gets written off too much as being like insulting to men. And I don't know, I mean, we now live in 2023 where like what Ryan Gosling did in Barbie is like, oh my God, that was hilarious. But what Chris Hemsworth did in Ghostbusters is like, oh, no. I'm like, they're the same thing. They're both actors who you wouldn't necessarily see in those roles doing sort of this silly, nonsensical stuff, and they're doing it really well. He's really funny in this. He's somebody that you wouldn't expect to see in a comedy doing a comedy. And I think that's what works and what makes it funny. The plot is fine. Um, I don't think that these films are all necessarily there for the plot. They're usually a little bit too convoluted to follow. There's some ghost and it's from an ancient past, and some weirdo is trying to unleash it. They're not like James Bond villains where the villain has to be, you know, like, wow, we're really up against somebody tough this time around, or they have to be super memorable, like a Batman villain, like, oh, the Ghostbusters are facing the Joker. This should be fun. No, they're just facing like another entity with some sort of crazy cool past, and it works. Um, Obviously, this film needs audio description. It does have audio description in certain places. I just rolled the dice because I was like, I do own physical media. What's really sad is that this is a 2016 Blu-ray, so that they had audio description and they could have put it on there, and they didn't. There are alternate audio tracks on this film in other languages, and there's a director's commentary track. So I could have listened to it, except for the director's commentary track here is really for the visual of it all. It's not balanced at all with the original sound. Actually, when I reviewed Memento off of a DVD, I listened to Christopher Nolan and do his commentary for Memento because I thought it'd be interesting. Here, I couldn't do that because there's no sound. It just completely obliterates the film. So it's like, I have nothing. I just have their commentary on the film. And they're cracking a lot of jokes and stuff. And I listened to a little bit of it, but wasn't really an option for me. So yeah, I like Ghostbusters. I like the remake. I like it better than Ghostbusters 2. I like it better than Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's not as good as the original. True story. Yes. However, it does make me laugh, and I enjoyed it. And it's okay if you didn't, but I hope the reason you didn't not like it has nothing to do with the fact that these are women, because that's problematic. And there's more to this story if you really break it down that changes it up. They do just enough to pay homage to what came before and have certain things happen in a certain way as sort of like a tip of the hat, so that they're not completely remaking Ghostbusters and throwing it out and then coming back to it. But they also are kind of blazing their own trail here. These characters are different. They're not just female archetypes of the originals. They're introduced to each other in different ways. And that's what I like. I like the fact that it tried to do something different. Instead, it didn't just gender bend. So I'm going to give Ghostbusters technically the grade of unwatchable, but I will say that there are platforms in which you can get the audio description that's available. But it would be unwatchable without it because ghosts, duh. I mean, I've mentioned this in the other reviews so far. You can't see them and they're not being described to you, so the film doesn't really make that much sense. But having seen this film before, I feel like pretty consistently my grade for Ghostbusters is an A-. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'm sure you did. You clicked that subscribe button. Why don't you let me know who your favorite Ghostbuster is out of all the teams? Comment below and let me know what you think. And I will see you guys on the other side.